Alright, we are going to install the Hydrophase Ridesteady speed control system in our Yamaha 242 Limited, but 2014 model. I received my package yesterday from Hydrophase. It was very well packed. It has a great instruction book that came with it, which is very well illustrated. And I am going to get started. The first thing I'm going to do is install the throttle nodes, which go one on each side. I'm going to put one there on the starboard side and there on the port side. This is the starboard throttle node. And what I'm going to do now is look for the best positioning to put it. It will connect to that wire there, which will come out of here and into there. So I am able to unplug that one. And basically this will plug in to the node, and then the node will plug back in where that went. So now, as you can see, it is plugged in, and then the original wire that was plugged in goes in there. And now I'm going to find the best place to mount it. Okay, so I got it mounted, and I mounted it in this location this way because this wire here is going to go back to the RPM wire on the motor here, and these two coming this way, one's going to go to the CPU, which I am going to put in the front of the boat, and the other one is going to go to the other throttle node, which I am going to route around this way to the other one. So now I'm going to mount the other side. This is the port side throttle. I did just pull this cable out. It is mounted with a tie there. I'm going to unscrew that, and I will be tying up all these wires later on, and on this side too. You can see it's just hanging for now, but we will clean it up once we get everything in the right place. Okay, I got that mounted, and what I did on this side was I used an existing bolt to mount it to. That way I didn't have to penetrate the wood here anymore. You do have fuel lines running behind here, so you got to be careful. If you are going to drill through here, you definitely do not want to hit the fuel line behind, you know, the piece of wood that everything's mounted to. So I just mounted it with the existing bolt. Got it tightened down pretty well. It's pretty sturdy, and that way I didn't have to penetrate the wood or put any screws through it that could cause any damage on the other side. I also blow up ballast bags on the other side, so I definitely don't want any screws poking out that could damage the bags. But this one's mounted, and we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to install the RPM cable. So I took the cover, you can see this motor, I took the cover off this motor to kind of show where the cable is. And if you look at the cam sensor there, and you follow this wire down, it's right here attached to the wire. It's this clear one on my model, the 2014 242. We're going to basically pull this apart, and this wire here is going to attach, and then we're going to route it back to the throttle node. Okay, I got the RPM on the motor connector disconnected, and now I'm going to plug in the RPM cable. Okay, I have it plugged in. You can see this is the cable. This is where the two connectors connect. Where the one came apart, you simply put this back in and they fit. There's only one way you can plug them in, so it's pretty simple. And the other end will plug in here to the throttle node. Okay, and now that I have it plugged in, I'm going to route the wire and tie it down so it's real neat. The RPM cable is now tied down. I wrapped it around there, fold it down there, and button it up nice and neat right on top of the motor. So that side is done, and now I'm going to do the port side. Same thing. And here it is located on the port side motor. Disconnected, and I'm going to go ahead and put the RPM cable on. Now I got it connected, and I'm going to go ahead and route the wire back and tie it down. Alright, port side RPM cable has been run. Went down, back, behind, came out, in, around, up, and then it's tied down right here really good. Alright, next step is I am connecting the cable that connects the two nodes together. And basically I'm going to run it across the inside part here, around behind the air filter, and right to the other port. Okay, the connector cable is ran. Hopefully I can get a decent angle on it, but I came down underneath. There's the gray wire. Came up. I kind of tucked it behind the air filter and plugs in right behind to the other node. Alright, the next step is I am going to pull the cable from the throttle to the CPU. And I'm going to put the CPU up here under the steering wheel. I think what I'm going to mount it is right here. I'm going to put that guy right there. So you can see it's all the, under the steering wheel gauges. I'm going to right there. Or maybe on this side, I haven't decided yet. But once I do, I will show you where I put it. And right now, I just need to get the wire from the back to the front. So that's what I'm going to start working on. Okay, so I got my throttle cable ran. I basically ran it, behind all this, up to the front. And I did decide to mount the CPU right here. So you can see right there is where, behind under the steering wheel, where all the gauges are. And I put the CPU right there inside the door. And you can see the throttle cable is hooked up. So I took the old speedometer out, and I'm simply putting the new one in right in the slot. I'm going to put it in and tighten it down in the back. Okay, so while I have the dash apart, I am going to run my wire for my GPS sensor. I'm going to be putting it up here on the dash, right below the windshield. So I'm going to loosen these bolts underneath. Let me see if I can get a good angle. I'm going to loosen these bolts underneath here to lift up the dash, run the wire through there, set it there, tighten the bolt back up. Okay, I got the GPS wire ran through, and now I'm going to tighten the bolt back up and have it sitting right here under the windshield in front of the dash. Okay, so the new speedometer is now installed with the LCD screen. I have it tightened down and centered. I have the CPU mounted here. You can see the speedometer up there where it mounted it. And now I'm going to take these wires, which are plugged into the CPU, from the GPS and the speedometer, and I'm going to get my tie wraps out, and I'm going to tie them up and make them look neat. Okay, I got them all tied up, bundled up nice, and now the last step will be to get the power cable hooked up. Okay, so I pulled off the ignition, and you can see these wires are all color the same as the power wires that come with the Hydrophase unit. So basically we're going to use these little splicer things to crimp onto both wires to join them together. It's pretty simple, and I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, got all the connectors on, and I believe the green one's going to go to the nav light switch, so I'm going to have to climb under to get that one on, but I'm guessing, from what I read, that's for the navigation light. Okay, so the power cable is now connected, hooked up to the wires at the ignition, and everything is tied up nice and pretty. And we are gonna test her out by trying to start it. Okay, so now we have it installed. We turn the key on, and we have success. We have successfully installed the Hydrophase Ridesteady speed control system. We will take some videos out on the lake later, and we will show you its performance. I'm going to set it to 20.5. It's a popular wakeboard speed. We are set, and here we go. Ready? Yep. Sides. And it will stay this consistent. It does every time. Alright, so we are set up for wake surfing. We have it set at 10.5. We seem to get the best wave with 10.5 on the GPS. I have 750 pounds of ballast in the ski locker, 400 under each seat, and an 800-pound bag on the deck. So it's at 2,400 pounds of ballast in the boat, a surfer on the back, and we're gonna go ahead and demo this GPS. Caden, tell us when you're ready.
Okay. My bad.
Am I gonna be able to go with you doing it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ready? Here we go. RPMs are good, locked in, within 1/10 of a mile per hour. Go ahead and film the surfer. You got a surfer on the back.
No, I have to fall out.
And we're still locked in. The Hydrophase Ridesteady is working like a charm. Very, very happy with it.